Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're taking a scalpel to one of the most compelling narratives in the modern world, the so-called overnight millionaire.
Oh, this is a big one.
It really is. We all see the headlines, right? The crypto investor, the sudden tech acquisition.
The launch that hits $10 million in a week.
Yeah, exactly. And it creates this illusion that wealth is just a matter of pure instantaneous luck.
And that surface appearance is incredibly seductive.
Yeah.
You look at these rapid ascents, and the natural question is, does wealth truly arrive that quickly?
Or is there some systematic internal mechanism at play that just finally reaches a tipping point?
That's the paradox. And it's exactly what we're dissecting today, using sources that look way beyond the press release.
Right. Our sources include decades of behavioral research and, of course, foundational studies like the one Napoleon Hill did on 500 of the most successful people of the 20th century. And they all suggest that the sudden burst is, well, it's an illusion.
The preparation takes years. That's the core finding. Hill's team confirmed a universal pattern.
And there's a really crucial observation that summarizes it, isn't there?
There is. When wealth starts flowing to a person, it flows not in a trickle, but with great abundance. It's so intense that the person often stops and asks themselves, where was all this energy and abundance this whole time?
Which suggests it was never absent. The individual just, lacked the capacity to receive it? The signal strength wasn't there.
Precisely.
So our deep dive today is focused entirely on that internal architecture. We're going to examine the 5 foundational elements you need to build that capacity.
To turn your psychological blueprint and your energy into an active, sustainable wealth receptor.
And to start that, we have to look at the governing law, right? What dictates that flow?
Yes, it's not about randomness, it's about preparation and management. And that brings us to the central tenet of the source material.
Okay, so let's unpack this engine. If luck isn't the primary factor, what is this universal law? What is the cosmic accountant operating under?
It's governed by what the sources define as the law of energetic organization, or energetic management.
Energetic management. Okay, that sounds a little metaphysical.
It can, but if you ground it in economics, it's profoundly practical.
So it's more about bandwidth, isn't it? If I'm already operating at 100% capacity and constantly mismanaging the small things, why would anyone, the market, a boss, the universe, assume I can handle 1,000% more?
Precisely. The energetic metaphor simply means managing your focus, your time, and your money. The sources give a very straightforward financial example.
Okay.
A person earning $1,000 a month who consistently spends $1,200 is showing, energetic leakage. They're focused on deficits.
Right, they're in the red.
And until they learn to stabilize that income and manage that existing financial energy, they're structurally blocked from receiving more. More money would just accelerate the bad habit.
So you have to plug the hole in the bucket before you ask for the floodgates to open. But how long does that stewardship period last? How does the cosmic accountant, measure competency?
It measures it by stability and reduced stress. Think about the career example they use. A person who is constantly stressed, chaotic, and just overwhelmed by their current work. They're not going to be promoted to a higher, more complex position.
Why would they be?
Exactly. The increase in salary and responsibility would just crush their existing management capacity. They haven't proven they can stabilize the environment they're already in. The system needs evidence that you can handle the current pressure before it gives you a greater load.
Wow. So for you, the listener, this realization is why the next steps aren't just quick tricks. They're deep internal psychological reforms.
Yes. To receive that abundance, you have to first harmonize with this management principle.
Which means addressing your deepest inner flaws.
The outer success, you see, is simply a delayed reflection of that inner energetic state. Okay, let's move into the 5 foundational pillars that build this capacity. Starting with the 2 most essential ones, the aspects of the inner self. Foundation number 1 is all about the architecture of the mind, psychology, and mindset. The sources are adamant about this. The required mental map must be actively sculpted. You're not waiting for inspiration, you are acting like a sculptor, meticulously shaping a statue.
It's not passive learning.
Not at all.
And here's where the source material levels a major critique at, conventional society. It warns that the mindset we absorb from our education system, from our general environment, is often a failure mentality.
It's a tragic programming, really. It doesn't mean we fail at everything, but it means we are ill-equipped to handle high-stakes failure without taking psychological damage.
And this programming, it shows up in specific ways.
In 3 critical ways. First, it stops us from navigating obstacles efficiently. We just freeze. Second, it stops us from extracting genuine, actionable lessons from unwanted results. We just internalize it as defeat.
But wait a second. If we're talking about success, wouldn't some level of risk aversion, which, traditional education often encourages, be a good thing for financial stability? Where's the line between healthy caution and this failure programming?
That's an insightful distinction. Healthy caution is risk calculation. Failure programming is paralysis.
Ah, okay. And that leads to the third manifestation. The inability to make genuine, high-level decisions swiftly. If you spend months agonizing over minor choices, your psychology is not prepared to execute the swift, high-stakes moves required when true abundance arrives. The foundation has to be strong enough to absorb the shock of a big decision and its consequences.
Right.
So the practical work for you, the listener, is to identify those personal friction points: chronic indecision, procrastination, fear of consequence, and then systematically dismantle them. You're strengthening your decision-making muscle.
Exactly. You're preparing for high-volume wealth. That stable, decisive psychology is the baseline requirement before the flow can even begin, let alone be sustained. And that stable psychology feeds directly to Foundation 2, which is about the quality of your motivation, alignment with values, or your inner compass.
Yes.
Sustainable, honest success requires alignment with your true inner values, the things that genuinely inspire your spirit and bring you internal, non-material happiness.
So it's about chasing the mission that fuels you, not just the societal goals you think you should pursue.
Right.
But what if my true inner value is something financially impractical, like spending all day painting abstract art? How does that lead to a flow of wealth?
The sources don't demand that your passion is immediately lucrative. They demand that your mission generates sustained high-level energy. Societal goals, chasing a status symbol, a bigger house, just for the image. They deliver a certain level of short-term achievement, but they lack the spiritual and mental energy for the long grind. The universe recognizes that high focus, that alignment with a deeply felt mission. It creates an irresistible energetic pull. Resources just flow to that intense energy.
So the wealth isn't the goal of the alignment, it's the fuel for the purpose.
Exactly. And this is ancient wisdom. The sources highlight the phrase, know thyself, naughty sought and found in all these ancient traditions. Deep self-knowledge is considered the ultimate power because it allows you to identify your true energetic fuel source.
Which ensures your effort is constantly replenished.
So we've established a stable mindset and a motivated direction. Now we shift from that internal capacity to external action. Let's get into Foundation 3, the tangible requirements. Essential execution skills. These are the practical, real-world business skills that let you engage in the exchange of value. And the source material is quite critical here. It notes that these skills are best acquired through targeted self-education, mentorship, high-level courses. Because academic institutions often teach methods that are decades out of date.
In the 1960s, yeah.
So what are the non-negotiable core skills that must be mastered in today's economy?
3 categories stand out as absolutely vital. First, communication and persuasion.
And that's not just public speaking.
No, it's the ability to articulate complex ideas simply, to negotiate effectively, and to inspire confidence in partners, customers, or investors. Speaking is structurally a crucial wealth skill.
And the second?
Second is sales and marketing. A lot of creative people resist this one. They see it as beneath them.
But the sources are clear. You are always selling something, a product, a service, an idea to your team, or just inspiring others to follow your vision. You have to understand how attention is captured. And finally, rounding out that practical toolkit.
The third is intelligent money management. And this goes way beyond simple bookkeeping. It's about leveraging capital, understanding tax structures, making money work for you.
Financial strategy. Financial strategy, exactly. And critically, the sources emphasize that mastering just these 3 skill sets alone can take 1, 2, maybe even 3 dedicated years of internal work.
Which, again, just completely undermines the whole overnight myth. Mastering persuasion alone could take a year of constant practice.
Right.
Okay, moving on to Foundation 4. This is where we dive into the deep emotional and psychological baggage we all carry around money.
Foundation 4 is all about your relationship with money. Most people are programmed from the ground up to fear money, to associate it with stress or scarcity, and often to implicitly judge the wealthy.
Deep emotional wounds and biases.
Very deep. We treat money like a destructive force or an inaccessible god, but never just a simple utility tool.
So what's the goal then?
The goal outlined in the sources is to build a friendship and peace with the entity of money. You have to treat it with respect, Acknowledge its power as an energy of exchange, but you can never allow it to become your master.
It can't dictate your moral choices or your happiness.
No. And this is crucial, because if you have all this deep resentment or fear toward money, what happens when a sudden financial blessing actually arrives?
Yeah, what does happen?
The source material provides a severe warning here. A distorted relationship causes people who get sudden money lottery winners, a surprise inheritance, to lose it. And quickly.
They blow through it.
They exhibit what's described as a kind of seizure or frenzy with the money. They spend impulsively, recklessly, often trying to fill the emotional void that the money, surprise, surprise, didn't fix. They just can't hold the energy, so they push it away.
A financial seizure. The mind can't cope with the sudden influx of resources, so it forces an immediate self-sabotaging release.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So the critical takeaway for you, the listener, is that you have to stabilize your emotions around money. Learn to prioritize buying what you need to support your mission, not just what you want to satisfy some fleeting emotional urge.
Self-control and emotional clarity. They are non-negotiable prerequisites for sustained wealth. Okay, let's wrap this up with the final foundation, which ties all these elements together. Flow and momentum. How does money actually move and grow once these four pillars are in place? Foundation 5 is exchange through money. Money, at its core, is an energetic entity that thrives on the principle of exchange. It's only paid when you provide a skill, a talent, or a highly refined solution to a genuine problem.
So the giving has to come before the receiving.
Absolutely. The key is giving high-level refined service consistently before you even focus on the reception. This consistent high-level giving builds momentum. Those sources use the term zakat. And that momentum becomes sufficient to create the receiving mechanisms like the compounding interest and focused effort.
That's a beautiful concept. Can we talk about that anecdote from the source material? Fitness trainer. How did giving consistently build this exactly?
Yeah, that personal anecdote was illuminating. This trainer noted that at first results were slow. The financial rewards were minimal.
Grind.
But they kept pushing, focusing intensely on deep effort, rigorous learning of new methods, and giving increasingly high-level bespoke service to their clients. This dedication led to an increased flow of creative energy. They started innovating new programs, solving problems others couldn't touch.
And then the money came.
And then, suddenly and naturally, the financial reward came. But the flow only started after the consistent giving had built the required intellectual and energetic momentum.
So the rapid